Hello, my friends, and welcome to a brand new episode of Discourse in Magic. My name is Jonah and welcome to another Magician Appetizer. This is a bite-sized piece of food for thought to help you on your magic journey. And today we're talking about 3 things that you can do to boost your magic creative output. Specifically, 3 things you can do to have you make more tricks, create more magic. A lot of the underlying conversation in this podcast is that by making magic, making things that are your own, creating things, problem solving, it solves a lot of the issues of using other people's material. And it's also more fun over time to develop a routine that's your own and develop ideas that are your own. So here are 3 tips that you can implement today to help you be more creative in your magic. And I want to give you a little bit of background for these tips, which is that I have always struggled with the concept of creativity. I've struggled to sit down and say, I'm going to make something. It's really not worked for me. And the pandemic, the past 20 or so months have probably been some of the most creative times for me. I've created a ton of magic. I've created events, created things out of thin air that didn't exist before. It's been one of the most creative periods in my life. And I kind of thought about why that is. And I unpacked 3 different reasons. So the first reason and the first thing that you can do to be more creative is by challenging yourself. And I'll give you an example. I'm doing something right now with Ben called the Tarbell Challenge. And we'll link to it in the description. And it is a monthly challenge on YouTube from the Tarbell Course in Magic. And we take a book a month and we come up with a trick from the book. We make it our own and we publish it on YouTube, and we've now shot 3 of them, and it's incredible. And the reason why the challenge is so helpful is because I want to beat Ben and I want to come up with a better thing than he does. And because of that, I'm working very hard, and I know that when the time comes and we're going to be filming, I don't want my thing to look not as good as his does. So if you do a challenge, and I mean, the easiest thing you can do is if you have the Tarbell books, then join us for the Tarbell Challenge. You could go and find something from book 1 and publish it. But if you don't, they're online for free. They're in the public domain. So you can find them online and you can participate in the challenge. But even if that's not the case, then you can phone up a friend who has a magic book or magic video or course or even just a prop or something, that you also have, and commit to some sort of challenge where the winner gets this or the loser has this happen or something, and watch how hard you work. The other thing is that it's public, right? That's another thing that would help is if whatever the outcome of the challenge is public, and that'll also help you work really hard. So tip number 1 is a challenge to help you be more creative. Tip number 2 is a deadline. Now that's not exactly linked with a challenge, but it usually is. And to be honest, most of the magic that I've ever created in my life that I actually use was because of a deadline, was because I said, I have this long to create this thing to solve this problem that I don't currently have. And I created a whole lot of magic for virtual because I had to have something to perform. And I created most of the magic that I have ever created when I got on stage. There's some tricks that I created when I first got on stage that I still do now because I really had to fill these missing gaps in my act. And yes, I've got new magic. Yes, I've created more, but those periods of a deadline, those periods right before you actually have to present or perform or do, really help. So if you have an event that you can sign yourself up for, an open mic, a public show, a private event that you get booked for, if you can do some sort of gathering, you can even make the event by saying, okay, on this day I'm doing this, and I'm inviting 10 people to be a part of it, and you just fabricate yourself a deadline. But the truth is, committing to completing a project before a moment in time allows you to complete that project way faster and way better. And I'm sure you've experienced, back in high school when you have a month to do an essay and you do it in a month, but also if you have 4 days to do an essay, you do it in 4 days. And the month-long essay is usually not actually better than the 4-day essay. It's kind of the same. So we want to get more output out by having more deadlines that we need to complete things by. So tip number 2 for ways to be more creative, to have more magical creative output, is by having deadlines. That is tip number 2. And tip number 3, and again, these things are all kind of a little bit related, but this one is really an underlying bit for me in the pandemic, which is tip number 3 for being more creative and creating more magic, is collaboration. Coming up with things alone is fun, but sharing things with others and getting feedback and trying again is a whole different type of fun. It is, you're collaborating, you're playing. The reason why we all got into magic is by playing. And there's something really cool about working on magic with multiple people. You're both excited to bring things to it. You have this trick that is growing and taking shape. And not only does it help, like I find it very hard to sit alone with a deck of cards and come up with a trick. Like I find that very difficult to do, but I find it very easy to collaborate, see something, share an idea, come up with an idea, go back and forth, trying to figure it out first. That stuff really, really helps. So I mentioned a challenge, which is a form of collaboration. But if you're creating magic, I bet you've got friends who would love to help you and bring them questions, bring them problems to help you solve. And it makes it a lot more fun. And I'll tell you a secret, which is that for the most part, I don't create alone. I don't create in a vacuum. The way I create is I bring a problem to someone and then we work on it. And then it kind of takes a little more shape. And then I bring that problem to someone else who I think maybe can help with the next issue I'm having. And then it begins to take shape, and so on and so on and so on. I grow through communicating with others. That's how I do it. It's very hard for me to communicate with myself. I'm way better at communicating with others. And I would suggest that if you struggle to create magic, but you want to create magic, then stop doing it alone and invite other people to be a part of the procedure. Not only will you make more, but it's going to be a ton more fun. There it is, 3 tips to be more creative with your magic output. Tip number 1 is a challenge. Challenge yourself, challenge somebody else. Have a challenge where the winner gets this, the loser gets this. Things are public. You can bet money on it. You can whatever. Have some sort of challenge where there's some level of stakes. You versus somebody or you versus yourself, but some actual challenge. That's number 1. Number 2, a deadline. Oh man, does this make a big difference. Think back to your life. Probably the most incredible things you've ever done in your life was because there was a deadline that you had to race to. So create a deadline or find a deadline or fabricate a deadline. But deadlines really, really help. And tip number 3 is collaboration. Doing it alone is possible, but depending on your personality type, doing it with others can be a lot more fun. And if it's fun, you do it more. And if you do it more, you create more. So there you go, a little bit for you. I hope that's helpful. I hope you learned something. I hope you put this into action. Like pick one of these, whichever ones feels the right for you, a challenge, a deadline, collaboration. Pick one of those and put it into action today. It's really, really easy to do. Thanks for being here. I hope you liked it. I will see you next Thursday.